So I'm going to start with the pavement. So what is the pavement? What's our category of the pavement itself? And then what are causes, effect, indicators of the structural, of the pavement failures. So the outcomes from this topic are to evaluate the design and analysis of field infrastructure, able to synthesize the failure mechanism of infrastructure, able to formulate solutions to the infrastructure failure cases. So have you registered to the highway or traffic courses in last few semesters, or have you attended the lab sessions for this pavement, highway, and traffic? Have you registered the course? Or if you attended the theoretical class, the pavement can be categorized into two types. So, sorry for having this small size of slides. Okay, just briefly in order to differentiate between these two types of pavements, for the first one, we can say on part of the material itself and also the structure of the pavement. So the layering, the thickness, and how do we have in terms of the flexible pavement and also the rigid pavement. So the flexible pavement, also known as the asphalt pavement, which reflecting to the materials being used to construct the pavement, has some difference of material on wearing cost and also the binding cost. So the surface of the pavement for wearing cost, binding cost, you can see on top of it having a asphalt pavement. And the other below of these layers, surfacing layers, we also have a upper base cost, lower base cost, and also uh, some call it as a subgrade. So the subgrade is the foundations of the pavement. So in terms of the thickness, you can see that all these layers to construct pavement having a differently on side of the thickness. You can see that, for example, the protective layer more deeper, more thicker than the wearing cost or the surfacing cost. Similarly, if you compare with the base cost and also upper and lower in the materials to construct or having these sections of layer also might not similar. So it categorized as a road base and sub base, and the last one is the subgrade. If you look at on the right of this side, you can see instead of having the pavement as a asphalt material, we're gonna replace with the concrete, or we call it as a cement concrete. So the surfacing of on the pavement by having a concrete material. So it's made of concrete. And then also, when you have a structural materials or structural buildings, the concrete itself having some sort of the reinforcement or some kind, we call it as a mesh in between of the joint. So the purpose of having this reinforcement is to carry or to absorb any changes in the stress effect. So and of course, the material, because having the two different materials, the stiffness and also the strength of the material will be differ. So, in part of the pavement research activities, they will call or they will look at on the fractural stiffness, the rigidity stiffness, and also the other is resilience stiffness. So these are the things, parameters control to the performance of the pavements. So when you are doing the final year project for this area in the pavement, for example, on part of the physical parameters of the highway, so these are the things that you can focusing on. Other than that, you can focus on what we call it the uh, the what we call it the fluidity of the material, how the material flow from one point to another point, and then we're gonna check on the material itself, for example, And other things we can do on part of the structural design. The structural design meaning that how do you design the thickness of the pavement from each layer, having the subgrades and then the sub-base layers, and to the last one as a surfacing layers. So the thickness itself will be differ for will be differ at asphalt pavement and also the concrete pavement. But in total, the thickness of the pavement will be similar. Okay, the next one we're gonna focus on differences between flexible and rigid pavement. So this table is actually more easier to understand according to this Horan 2004. So the flexible pavement, the lifespan is on 20 years. For rigid pavement, it can last for 40 years. And in terms of the cost, it is high cost and schedule maintenance. For the rigid pavement, so more economic maintenance, so no schedule. The flexible pavement is cheap and easy to get the material. For rigid pavement, so the material shortage problem always occur due to the concrete productions, or what we call it here is a cement productions. And the initial cost for pavement, for flexible pavement is very low. For rigid pavement is higher. And for flexible pavement, it is easy to upgrade in part of the stage constructions. However, for rigid or concrete pavement, it cannot be upgraded, or we couldn't do any on the stage constructions. And also for flexible pavement, the common deformations you may encounter on the flexible pavement are rutting and also potholes. For rigid pavement, it is free from rutting, pothole, and corrugations. However, the flexible pavement is less economic for the long duration, but the rigid pavement is more economical for the long durations. Can be used once ready. For rigid pavement, it is traffic disturbance with for maximum strength 28 days. So I think that when talking about the rigid pavement, because the rigid pavement made of concrete, so it will take the same properties of material behavior like having a concrete, where the concrete reach to maximum strength at the 28 days. So similarly, if you have a pavement or any kind of highway made of concrete, so you have to wait until the concrete stiffer, or the concrete reach to certain concrete design at the 28 days. But for the flexible pavement, once it is done, so it's ready to be used. But if you are traveling on between these two type of pavement, between flexible and rigid pavement, you can feel it by yourself how the travels along this pathway, is it smooth or unsmooth conditions. I mean that if you travel on the rigid pavement, you may hear some hard sounds, which is unsmooth conditions, compared to flexible pavement. It is very smooth surface conditions and very silent in part of the traveling distance on the surface. And then for this course, it is adopted these two materials. Sorry, the two manuals. For first one is the asphalt roads, and the second one is the concrete roads manual. So inside this manual, let me share with you. For example, if you have this asphalt pavement manuals, so it is presenting to you a kind of the measures concrete, also the asphalt pavement surface distress, such as surface defect, surface deformations, cracks, patches, and potholes. And inside this manual also, all those defects or distress are categorized into the levels. I mean, if you go details, you can see that the rating pavement surface conditions, we can rate from 1 to 10. From the 1 to 10 here, indicating that either we have the surface conditions in fail condition or in a good conditions. Of course, if you have a good conditions or excellent condition, so we can rate in 10 or 9. But I am not focusing in details about this pavement performance. I am focusing on how we can categorize the distress or defect according to the pavement surface, and then you can see on the cracks, patches, and the potholes. I think in Malaysia, what's a common defects you may see on pavement surface? What are the common defect? Anyone would like to share an answer? Apa selalu bentuk pavement surface yang kita selalu jumpa?
Crocodile crack.
Pothole.
Lagi? Potholes tu very common kan? Kalau you travel
Rutting.
dalam Rating
Kat
punya,
Selangor, madam.
apa dia? Nampak sangat you all ni
Kat
minat
Selangor
highway
banyak.
kan? Selangor. Pasal apa Selangor banyak?
Sebab
Siapa
banyak
boleh jawab?
heavy ni. Dekat area Kelang.
Betul-betul logik. Sebab satu bila you design kan, samalah sama ada geotech ke highway ke ataupun structure. Of course, any infrastructure ataupun bangunan yang you bina, the most functions ataupun the most important layers on the structures ataupun beneath the structures adalah foundation itself. So talking about the foundations, bila kita cerita dalam geotechnical area, is a in pavement we can call it as a subgrade. So the subgrade adalah asas kepada ataupun tanah asal kawasan pembinaan tersebut. Kalau kata you dah layer on the surfacing from the subgrade, road base, kemudian you dah letak surface pavement. And then when you tested on the construction techniques kan, you dah rolling from one point to another point, and then you still can see some bumping and some bulging on the road surface. So it's due to your foundations, at the bottom of the layers, pavement layers, iaitu subgrade awak. Kalau kata at the beginning subgrade tu tak strong ataupun not compacted, so dia akan beri impact to the vehicles loading, because the vehicles loading ni we can't control, or at this particular time the car cannot, or any vehicles cannot move on top of it. So kita tak boleh kawal macam tu, kecuali we can set a regulation rule. For example, highway, for this particular time lori ke truck tak boleh masuk. Itu je kita boleh letak dari segi regulation. Tapi when the pavement cracks, defect, fail, so kita dah tak boleh nak come over back and redo balik dia punya construction process. It start macam building, kalau old building we can have a demolitions. Tapi kalau kata road, selalunya kalau ada rock falling on the surface pun, kita boleh buat surfacing balik, kita turap balik. The potholes or patches are due to the foundations. Kalau kata foundation tu weak in bearing capacity and due to the heavy vehicles moving. Heavy vehicle moving ni they come with the loading itself. I mean that loading vehicles tu lah. Kalau kata lorry truck kan, dia punya axle tayar tu, ganda tayar tu berapa. Kalau truck tu panjang, maknanya ganda tayar tu lagi berat lah. So dia punya loading tu tak sama dengan passenger car. So I think that bila you design the road pavement thickness tu, we taking into this effect. Kalau axle loading tu berapa, passenger car unit berapa nilai dia punya loads kan, because we want to determine the proper thickness for each layer of the pavement itself, daripada subsurface dia, subgrade dan juga subbase. And also the material chosen in the constructions. Kalau kata you choose cheap materials ataupun recycled materials, so these are the things that you have to bear in mind on part of the consequences. I mean that nowadays we are not focusing to have a new productions materials coming from the factory. Selalunya kita akan find out what's our material that can be reused, recycled, and to be placed in the constructions activity, such as if you have a tire rubber, so the tire rubber can be formed into chip, and then we recycle it, we do some treatment, and then we reproducing as part of the construction pavement materials. So these are the things currently people take seriously in what we call it as a sustainability or green material. So you can see later how does this cracks can occur due to the material itself or due to the structure. So back to the answer just now, for example, in Selangor or any area, if you have a railway or a highway or any expressway that open to the vehicles movement, and I think these are traveling activity non-stop, they can also cause to the structural or pavement failures. Similarly in our campus, kalau you tengok dekat kawasan BKPA, kita nak pergi ke college Wairuri depan tu, you can see on the crack, the categories of the crack is crocodile crack. So you akan nampak lah the crack patterns dia macam mana. So how the crack occur due to what. So we started doing the forensic investigations. So now kita cari punca kenapa pattern crack tu bentuk macam ni. Kenapa dia tak dalam bentuk line crack ataupun hair crack. So kalau you dah identify crack, you kategori dia, you nak tahu pula dia punya measurement in terms of the length dia, and then dia punya crack tu only on surface ataupun dia punya crack dah sampai ke bahagian bawah. What are the causes bila kita tak control ataupun kita tak mitigate, kita tak buat proper maintenance activities? Because the future impact, the future effect deformations or we can have some bulgings movement yang mana bila you travel along the pavement surface you feel uncomfortable. Sebab apa? Sepatutnya jalan tu rata kan, tapi sebabkan berlakunya bulging, kemudian adanya rutting, ada some pothole patches, you punya perjalanan tu you bawa kereta pun dah tak rasa comfortable, dia dah tak smooth sebab we try to avoid the patch hole, we try to avoid pothole. Impactnya nanti pada vehicles. Kereta boleh rosak kan, alignment, balancing semua akan lari. So bila you nak travel jauh, kereta pun dah tak fit. Itulah dia punya effect lah, long term effect, macam mana kita nak kait kan. So at the beginning if you can control the deformations, any cracks on the pavement, so better we take fast actions lah kan. Maknanya kata kalau kita nak you travel by motorcycle ke by car ke, you have found this area ada some kind future damages on crack surface on the pavement surface, you inform terus ke public authority. But somehow on part of the management, bukan kata public, orang awam ni tak buat action dia, buat aduan, tapi sebabkan ada legislation at top management yang mana bila kita nak buat repairing work tu dia perlukan kelulusan, so budget semua kan, benda-benda ni antara faktor dia back to the last on management issue. So back to the technical issue, as I said and what you have answered just now are totally right. So tak ada pun salah because we had experience by ourselves. Kemudian kalau you jalan kaki pun sebenarnya you nampak jenis-jenis pavement deformations. So it's good kalau sebabkan bila kita belajar, the only phase dalam fasa pembelajaran ni lah untuk you capture, you nak identify semua benda yang you take into real life. Kalau kata on book saja kan, and then kemudian you tak aplikasi balik in real life pun tak best juga kan. So we couldn't say any excuses yang kita tak boleh nak nampak, tak boleh nak faham di subject sebab kita tak ada hands-on experience. Sebenarnya hands-on experience can be experiencing by yourself. You jalan kaki pun, you tengok merata ke sekeliling ke, dengan syarat tak tengok handphone lah kan. So you boleh jumpa crack-crack semua ni kan. Atau kalau kata you more interest on this part, you jalanlah sekitar kampus kita. You detect crack. Laluan daripada pintu gate utama sampai pintu gate belakang. How many cracks patterns you can see on the pavement. Kemudian if you lagi responsible student, you buat aduan kepada fasiliti. So kat situ ada orang kata apa, peranan you sebagai pelajar, peranan awak sebagai community in the college itself lah. So itu antara benda yang saya rasa bagus lah kan, sebab kita bukan sekadar apa ni on book semata-mata, kita juga melihat dengan mata kita, sebab pavement benda yang selalu student minat. Kalau kata dalam final year project, ramai student suka pergi ke pavement, traffic. And then on the structure itself pun, ramai student yang akan pergi ke pavement. So bila tengok geotech, agak sedikit dan mungkinlah kita pun tak tahu on what reason student afraid on this part. Tapi bila you work outside, dekat mana-mana company ke, so dia akan integrate semua balik. Daripada civil disiplin tu, structure ke, hidrolik ke, hidrologi ke, semua benda you kena tahu. Cumanya yang membezakan adalah mungkin you tak touch on all disciplines in depth. You hanya sentuh sedikit. Okay, contohnya kalau you nak design rumah kan, design satu rumah, you kena tengok juga dari segi foundations, and then the structures loading. Kemudian you nak design on top of the roof tu, berapa capacity water untuk kita bawa masuk kan, daripada luar sampai ke dalam rumah, usage dia berapa, penggunaan air, and then you nak design culvert drainage tu, berapa size dia, PVC pipe, semua benda-benda tu you akan combine tu semula lah. So tak ada kata, oh I like this, I don't want to this topic. So tak ada lah. Sebenarnya lagi bagus kalau you can benefit all those knowledge during this time untuk you guna. Walaupun some people said that once you come to the work life, only few percent can be taken from the books. The rest is your experience and also sharing knowledge from your colleagues. But I think that without the knowledge, who you are now, right? So knowledge tu penting jugalah. Tak kisahlah knowledge apa bentuk sekalipun. Okay, dalam ni saya akan sentuh sedikit sajalah on the surface defect, surface deformation, cracks, patches and post. So more on the introductions lah. How do you identify this kind of the cracks? Because we're gonna have the class activity after this from a case study selected. Okay, on part of the design in Malaysia, we are using the Arahan Teknik Jalan by Jabatan Kerja Raya JKR. So, if you are what we call it, doing a final year project on part of the pavement material, for example, you have to cross-check with the JKR guidelines pavement or road construction. In terms of the thickness of the pavement, so it says that the recommendation value, what is the compactions on site value acceptance, and then what is the bearing capacity of the soil on site that can be accepted for construction. So these are the things that can be used as a part of your guide during the design and construction activity. Other than that, we can refer a manual from Geometric Design of Highways and shipped by American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, Standard Specifications for Transportation Materials and Methods of Sampling and Testing by AASHTO. And also the last one is the LRFD Bridge Design Specifications by AASHTO. So these are the manuals, but commonly some manuals may not give you details information, so that you have to refer from other manual listed here. Okay, just now I showed you on the asphalt pavement. We also has a manual on concrete pavement. So I hope that every one of you are familiar the differences between asphalt pavement and also the concrete pavement. Of course, in part of the, in terms of the material itself, if you are talking about the asphalt pavement, of course the surfacing is made of asphalt. Whereas, meanwhile, for concrete pavement, so the surfacing is made of concrete. And then talking about the concrete, when you are constructing a building, if a constructions or structural building made of concrete, so you have to provide a reinforcement. So the purpose of having this reinforcement to bear any or any shear effect, bending moment effect. I mean that if you compare the advantages between these two type of pavements, so the concrete is more better. However, the raw material to be built on site, having the fresh concrete much more become difficult nowadays. So remember, in order to have a concrete mixture, we need to combine few materials, aggregate, the coarser size, water, and then the cement. So those are the things is not coming as man-made productions. The raw material is coming from the naturally. I mean that at the quarry site, you have to do some explosion to have the raw aggregate cost. And from the raw aggregate cost, so we mix together with the water and also the cements. So it is say that it's nowadays become difficult to have the concrete. We try to change or to adopt a new recycle material as part of the constructions material itself. And what are the defects on the concrete pavement? You may see such as wear and polishing, map cracking, pop out scaling, shallow reinforcing, spurling, and then we also have the joint cracks, pavement cracks. So these are the cracks that can be observed on the concrete surface pavement. So back to here. For the pavement structural condition assessment, because we also need to do the monitoring and controlling, so it can be control or the assessment can be done by having a visual condition survey. And invasive tests such as scoring, wet and dry, and dynamic cone penetration testing to characterize the pavement layers. It may also incorporate a ground penetrating radar survey to assess pavement layer thicknesses and changes in cross-section, and material testing to characterize the properties of recovered samples. So these are techniques, or what we call it as instrumentations, that can be adopted to observe any crack form on the pavement surface. So, so these are the testing for rigid pavement and also for the flexible pavement. So, for example, deflection testing, wave testing, other measurements on the steel size determination, X-ray testing, skid resistance measurement, roughness profilometer. So all these things, when you look at on this slide, it also can be used as part of your final year project lah, if you are dealing with or you get involved in the pavement and highway research project. So we can check or we can test on the material itself. Look at on the stiffness, look at on the skid resistance. So it is very interesting because we have all those equipment at our lab. And but the thing is that the testing quite heavy for some student being carried out, because it's need you be some very energetic lah to conduct the lab at the pavement lab. For the flexible pavement testing, we can have deflection testing, wave testing, and quite same to the rigid pavement. But as I said again, of course, they will be different on part of the result because the surface itself. Okay, next will be on soil or some sort of the soil boring. So this one is a field test or typical destructive field test. So talking about destructive, it is require you to have a sample. So the sample need to be called or taken from the site and bring to the lab to determine some sort of the parameters lah. For example, the thickness, and then the material identification, the load testing of the base layers, and then the water table location. So these are the destructive tests. So if you have a destructive test, meaning that you have to consume more money lah to get the sample. Investigation techniques, for example, visual condition survey. Commonly, the visual condition survey is integrated with the any automated test or automated equipment because it is more reliable and very real-time data. And other than that, we also have high-speed road monitor. And if you have heard on dynamic cone penetrator, dynamic cone penetrometer is it is common test being carried out on site. So it is a device in which a hardened cone tip is placed on the surface and then a weight is repeated drop on it from a specific height. After a set number of blows, such as every 5 blows, the penetrations of the cone into the surface is measured. So the DCP is used primarily on unbound materials such as paste or separate soil. If you remember, when this dynamic cone penetrometer also being introduced in the chapter, if I'm not mistaken, chapter 2 in geotechnic course. So it is part of the soil investigation testing. So the dynamic penetrometer, it can give you the strength of the materials lah. And what are the things? So the DCP test indicates the shear strength of the material based on the measurements of the rate of the material lah. The next one is a falling weight and deflectometer. Investigation techniques such as Beckman beam deflections. So it is one of the non-destructive methods for flexible pavement. So it's suitable for short stretch less than 1 kilometer or slower. So these are the procedures listed to be carried out on site. Okay, yang ni adalah some contoh lah. Kalau you ingat dekat site pun ada setengah sampel ataupun testing tu yang kita core dia, kemudian kita bawa ke makmal. So, selalunya core testing tu, core sampel tu kita bawa ke makmal untuk kita uji lah dia punya material strength and then material weight and bituminous itself and part of the apa semua benda lah yang berkaitan dengan properties of the materials lah. Tapi macam saya cakap lah, dia bergantung kepada apa data yang you nak cari and based on the budget itself lah. Okay, yang ni semua on part of the laboratory testing and also testing on site. Okay, now I'm going to share with you last but not least on the defects in bituminous surface. So the bituminous surface is a keyword indicating for a flexible pavement. Kalau you ada defects in concrete, so mungkin lah this slide may not relevant lah. So saya akan share untuk kita hayati bersama apa jenis kegagalan yang ada untuk bituminous surfacing. Okay, so I nak setiap anda pergi ke chat room at this what we call it here, our session. You can see at the bottom of on the right side, I have given a instruction where you need to download a paper here. So the paper is is a case study that we're gonna conduct after few minutes. Before that, I'm going to split every one of you into few rooms. Okay, I nak setiap anda untuk masuk kepada backup rooms. So yang ni randomly tau. Kemudian apa yang you all kena buat dalam group yang saya assign ni, you gonna do some summarizations on the topic, but the topic will be selected according to groups. Okay, kalau you tengok dalam chat tu, saya minta you download paper tu. Kemudian saya nak anda masuk kepada room yang saya akan assign selepas ni. You are given around 15 minutes to discuss and to highlight few important things. So the important things are coming from this slide shown after this. So nanti lepas 15 minit tu, saya nak you all present lah dalam group 1, group 2 dan juga group 3. Group 4 sekali. Okay, tadi dia dah assign sekejap Dia akan... So you all dah dalam group ke apa? Kau semua dah dalam group ke?
Dah boleh ulang sebab saya terkeluar dari minum. Line tak stable.
Ya.
Ah.
Sekejap nah. Okay, apa yang you kena buat? Okay, saya dah listkan beberapa benda lah. Contohnya, untuk aktiviti hari ni, okay, saya nak you ambil satu case study yang saya dah attach dalam chat area tu. Tajuk artikel tu Flexible Pavement Failures on Doda Badua Road 1B and its Remedial Measures. So, you kena take out important points from the article. For example, case description. Okay, yang ni saya assign kepada group 1 lah. Kemudian theory and concept, modes, types of failures, and then causes of the failures. So the next group, you kena focus on the process of failure, effects of failure, design and analysis, design guidelines and standard. Untuk grup yang seterusnya, investigation approach on mitigations and remedial work, kemudian instrumentations and controlling for maintenance and performance, lesson learned. Grup yang terakhir tu, dia kena compile semua yang dipersembahkan oleh kumpulan-kumpulan yang lain tadi. Sekejap kita buat sekali lagi. Tadi tiba-tiba saja. Okay, sekarang 4 grup kan? Okay, sekarang kita ada 4 grup lah. So make sure you all, nama you nanti dia akan masukkan kepada grup yang dia dah letak kat sini. So saya dah buka room. Ada room 1, room 2, room 3 dan juga room 4. Room 1 ada 5 orang, room 2 5 orang, room 3 ada 4 orang, room 4 pun ada 4 orang. So you akan nampak nanti nama you dah dipindahkan mengikut room lah. So lastly is Andi. Okay, room 1. Room 1 kita ada Nur Sabrina, kita ada Adlin, kita ada Nur Azamia, Nur Dania, Muhammad Akil. Betul tak? Dia dah berada dalam tempat yang betul tak? Akil. Kemudian room 2. Room 2 kita ada Madison. Kemudian kita ada Nur Azra, Nurul Najwa, Rachel Ann, Andik Munira. Room 3 kita ada Nur Syahira, Nur Amira, Muhammad Rizwan, Wan Nur Syahrin. Kemudian room 4 kita ada Alifa, Nurul Husna, Alisa Syafia dan juga Nur Amira. So make sure that you discuss among all these group mates. Kemudian dalam 15 minit kita akan buat presentation. Ada soalan? So you can discuss among your group mates lah. You nak on camera ke, you nak off camera ke. Tapi you kena ada discussion. So sekarang ni group Andik. Kenapa room 1 lagi ni close? Nur Syairah Tasnim ni duduk kat mana ni? Rizwan, you dekat
Tadi saya seorang dalam room tu, saya tak reti guna room tu.
Oh, you ke? Sebab room 4 semua terkeluar ke apa? Close ni. Kena buat apa? Aduh. Okay, room 4 kena buat apa ya? Room 4 ni you kena summary semua benda dari dalam PowerPoint ni. Okay, contohnya apa? Nampak tak slide saya? Selalunya kita akan mula dengan case description kan? Kalau group
Kan
satu
masuk
ni,
duduk tak payah lah aku.
tak boleh ke? You join je, you klik join. Ada problem tak nak masuk?
Mana? Dah ni awak tengok semua yang pakai left tinggal masuk. Left je lah.
Tadi Meida ada tunjuk PowerPoint. Betul-betul saya ada tunjuk PowerPoint. Sekejap lah PowerPoint tu saya hold start sebab ada problem yang tak join group. Semua dah dalam group ke? Okay, slide saya share lah. Okay, start. Gena kita nak buat ni. Chat. Okay, slide saya dah share. So, you bolehlah download dari situ. Apa yang you nak buat nanti, macam group room 4 tu kan, room 4 saya tak assign apa-apa dalam slide tu. So, apa yang saya nak, room 4 tu dia kena compile semua benda daripada group 1, group 2, group 3. Okey, kita refer artikel daripada 2019-06-1120 . Okey, sambil you buat discussion, sambil tu you bolehlah nak rest 5 minit ke kan, nak rehat sat ke, nak pergi minum ke. Dalam 11 suku tu ataupun 11, paling lewat 11.20 lah. you masuk balik main room ni, lobby yang utama tadi masa kita ni lecture tu, untuk kita buat presentation. So presentation tu nanti you discuss lah dengan group mates you kan, yang dekat dalam room tu, siapa nak present. Okay, room 4 ni macam mana ni, nak masuk semula ke apa? Syaira Tasnim?
Yes.
Nak masuk semula ke? Yes,
Sama madam, terkeluar juga.
Sabar tak apa. Sekejap,
Madam, sorry.
Ya. Andi, you
Boleh
duduk group
tak
mana?
send report journal.
Oh, report journal tu.
Saya tak tahu madam, tadi terkeluar. Tapi kalau
Macam tu saya share dekat Telegram sebab saya try.
dekat Telegram boleh?
Boleh sebab tadi saya share dekat mana tu, dekat chat MT. Dia boleh pula dia tak apa? Dia tak masuk. Sat.
Okay madam.
Okay. Paper tu saya dah share tau. So kalau you tak boleh download dari chat ataupun you future, you ambil kat situ. Okay, untuk group room 3 ni saya assign semula. Tak nak saya ambil nama. Nama saya. Sambil-sambil tu you bolehlah baca lah. Bincang dengan kawan tau. Ni bukannya buat seorang-seorang. Tapi nanti masa present tu, you kenalah appointkan anyone yang nak present. So dalam setiap bilik tu mesti ada lead lah, leader. Mana? Oh, unassign ni. Amira.
Madam,
Ya.
PowerPoint tu dekat mana?
PowerPoint tu saya letak dekat dalam, sana. Lupa, dekat apa pun ada problem kat situ kan. Okay. Okay. PowerPoint pun saya dah bagi dekat dalam Telegram. Mana yang tak boleh masuk dekat ni lah. MT. So MT nanti you present. Oh lah, room 4 ni fail to open lah. And tak apalah, saya jadikan semua ahli dalam room 3 ni masuk ke, saya bedak-bedak lah hampa berempat ni. Maknanya sekarang ni kita hanya ada group 1, 2, 3 saja. So group 1 you akan ambil slide yang 4 slide terawal. Group 2 you akan ambil 4 slide yang tengah. Group nombor 3 you akan ambil 4 slide terakhir. Maknanya sekarang ni dekat MT ni room 1, 2 dengan 4 sahaja yang open or aktif. The rest tu dia akan shift lah. Move. Saya akan pindah ke room 1, 2 dan 4. Ahli dari room 3 saya pindahkan room 1, room 2 dan juga room 4. Okey, sekejap. Room 3 tak aktif. Amira Shanim, you room berapa? Okay, Amira Shanim, you room 2. Okay, nanti 11.30. 11.30. 11.30 lambat sangat kan? Kalau kata dah ready ataupun tak ready lagi 11 suku, you inform dekat saya ya. So, kita buat kelas aktiviti based on your discussion, apa yang you boleh ambil lah. So, sekarang ni group 1 ataupun room 1. Next. Okay, dalam kes kita ni, group 3 ataupun room 3, dia deaktif tau, dia close. So, dia adalah room 4 untuk kelas pagi ni. Okay, nanti dah ready, inform.
Dah terkeluar.
Dah.
Dah terkeluar medium.
Tak tahu. Sebelum tu merah mic aku.
Madam tak habis bincang lagi.
Okay, saya pergi balik dekat lobi utama. 11 suku ramai rasanya tak habis lagi. So nanti 11:30 kita bincang. Kita jumpa dekat lobi utama ya, meeting room utama. So saya back to satu lagi group. Ini dua dah. Okay, mana ahli-ahli room 1 ke, room 2 ke, room 4 yang dah bersedia? Back to our main meeting room tau. Meeting room tu yang yang tertulis CEG 562 PEC2217. You join balik kat situ. So you leave the breakout room tu, you masuk semula. Awak Nuranis ni, Nuranis pun terkeluar semula ke? Tadi Nuranis dekat group mana?
Tak madam, tadi saya terlihat sebab wifi saya tak elok.
Okay, group mana tadi awal-awal saya assign semula? Group mana awal-awal Anis?
Apa madam?
Awak group mana tadi? Awal-awal saya assign? Group 1 ke? Room 1 ke? 3 ke? 4, 2? Masuk je lah
Saya-
mana-mana. Tak apalah, saya letak awak mana-mana dah. Room 1.
Madam, saya
Ya.
pun terkeluar. Saya tak masuk room lagi. Saya
Awak
room
room mana?
1. Room 1.
Room 1. Okey, Sad. Nur Azamia.
Madam,
Ya,
saya pun terkeluar. Grup 1.
Adlin.
Saya pun madam. Saya pun grup 1.
Saya pun madam.
Okay, mana yang terkeluar tu kita guna apa ni our main meeting room ni untuk you discuss belakang lah back door ni kan ada dekat chat session tu. Sebab saya nak kalau saya nak assign semula saya dah select nama tapi dia tak jadi. Dia sepatutnya can be assigned tu. Sebab dia already at the first place tu dia dah assign. Sekejap. Adeline. Oh, Adeline dia dah assign.
Madam,
Yes.
saya rasa macam semua orang terkeluar.
You mean,
Dari
I
group
understand. Yes,
Sebab
I
dah habis
understand.
timing yang sepatutnya.
Ya, betul. Because saya set breakout room till 15 minutes. Yes, understand why all yes. Okay, kenapa semua orang terkeluar? Okay, tak apalah. Okay, back to our main meeting lobby. So, kalau mana group yang dah siap, you boleh present ataupun you stay in here, main lobby meeting room. Kemudian 11.30 kita present. So, dia bukan terkeluar lah ya, saya set timing tu 15 minit. Okay lah.
Tu satu Madam, satu lagi kita orang pun tak sempat nak discuss apa-apa. And then kalau kita orang nak discuss pun kita orang tak nak discuss chat dekat group tadi. Sebab kan once kita orang dah terkeluar dari group yang tadi, kita orang dah tak boleh nak chat on each other. Nak discuss on our topic.
Tak apa, you chat dekat our main lobby ni. Kan ada chat area tu kan, you klik kat situ, you chat. Lepas tu you discuss apa benda lah. You mention lah nama siapa yang you nak call to respond. Kemudian you communicate lah dekat WhatsApp ke Telegram kan. At least sebelum kita end our lecture today 11.30 tu adalah sedikit output kan yang you baca daripada technical
Madam,
paper.
saya tak sempat join room pun tadi.
Never mind because
dekat chat ni, dekat
So, saya tak
lobby
tahu
ni tak
saya
ada
room
chat.
keberapa.
dekat mana tak ada chat?
Kat lobby ni macam tak ada chat je, saya punya tak ada.
You pakai phone ke you
Sama
Madam,
Madam.
pun tak ada.
Ya pun Madam.
Saya rasa
Dekat
ikut
kita
group
orang punya
assignment lah
kanti
madam
sekarang
sebab
ni tak ada
senang.
chat button.
assignment? Oh.
So senang dah ada group, lepas tu kita senang nak communicate. Boleh tak madam?
Buat dekat jadikan sebagai assignment.
Tak. Kan kita orang kan dah ada group assignment kan. So
Okay.
yang ahlinya tu just kita bagi dekat group assignment je. Tak payah buat group baru.
Okay, tak ada masalah.
Macam tu.
Boleh je. Okay class, we back to initial your group group assignment form. Maknanya ahli-ahli dia tu seperti dalam Telegram lah. Okay lah, saya tengok apa nama ahli dia. Tak ada ke? Ada. Okay, kita tengok siapa ahli-ahli dia. Okay, maksud awak sini ya. Ni. Okay, group 1. Adel Manson, Amira Shanim. Okay lah, you discuss ikut nama group ahli yang ni lah. Kemudian Alisha Syafia, Nurul Husna. Okay, group 2. Leader dia Nur Amira. Saya assume macam tu lah. Yang pertama tu leader lah. Nur Azamia, Nur Amira, Nur Dania, Nur Najwa. Grup 3 Nur Anis, Siti Nur Sabrina, Nur Syahira, Alifah, Adeline, Nur Azra. Okay, so kita ada 3 kumpulan. So 3 kumpulan ni you akan discuss ikut slide yang saya share. Mana slide tadi? Okay. Okay, jap. Dia tak keluar lah. Ya, dekat sini. Okay, group 1 you akan ambil case description. Kemudian theory and concept, and then modes, types of failure, causes of failure. Group nombor 2, you akan discuss on process, macam mana failure berlaku, effects of failure, design and analysis. Design and analysis apa yang you boleh kaitkan dengan apa benda lah application tu, macam mana dia trigger kepada failure. Design guidelines and standard. Okay, group seterusnya, group ketiga, you akan present on investigation, approach and mitigations, kemudian instrumentation, lastly is a lesson learned. Okay, according to the paper here. Okay, ini paper yang kita akan discuss. Okay, ini paper dia, case study on flexible pavement failures on DODA. Dalam flexible pavement ni, just now I show you few failures can be observed on this pavement surface lah. Tapi saya tak nak you randomly pick up. I mean that you have to read through this text, article, and then find out apa dia punya major failures yang you boleh jumpa. Kemudian kalau group yang buat remedial ataupun mitigation measurement, so you can focus directly dekat bahagian sini. So meaning that selain daripada kita kupas on part of the forensic ataupun postmortem activities from the case failures, so it give you some theoretical background, how do you read a research article, so dia membantu awak lah kan untuk lebih memahami lah. Contoh macam yang ni kan, artikel ni dia dah mention that flexible pavement design consists mainly from two steps. First, material mix design the structure of the pavement. So the main and major factors to be taken in consideration flexible pavement design are traffic volume, climate and weather conditions along the year. And the next one is the road geometric design. Position, soil or subgrade and drainage. So benda-benda ni dia lebih kepada orang kata apa? Important points lah. Dia terus highlight important points. So you nak ambil masa baca manual kan dia lama kan, panjang sikit kan. So kita baca daripada research article, kita gather the informations. Kalau you ada few case study, tak apalah kan, kita combine, kita senaraikan mengikut topik yang kita nak study, itulah headlines dia apa. Tapi sebabkan hari ni kita hanya ada satu case study, terus fokus. So I tak payahlah buat comparison kan dengan case study yang nombor 2 ke nombor 3 untuk kita discuss ataupun untuk lebih memahami. Itu di luar waktu kelas. So kalau untuk hari ni saya bagi masa lah kan untuk you take out the important points mengikut ahli kumpulan project assignment awak tu. Kemudian dalam 11:30 you present lah. So group leader boleh assign siapa nak present. You nak pakai tool untuk presentation apa-apa pun terpulang pada awak, terpulang pada kreativiti anda. Sebenarnya senang juga ni. Tak pening kepala pun nak buat dia. Cuma saya nak tengok lah you punya yelah, since we have 3 hours lecture kan, ini antara aktiviti lah yang saya rasa saya boleh ambil dan buat pendekatan dalam online class lah. Kalau kata kita ada physical class pun, lebih kurang sama, cumanya kita berjumpa. So, I kadang Adlin, entah-entah you all ni ada student yang saya ajar dalam advanced geotechnical engineering kan. Siapa ambil advanced geotechnical engineering semester ni? Mungkin
Saya.
ada. Kan
Ya.
kelas saya ke yang saya tak perasan ke kan. Kena mengaku siap-siap lah kan. Tujuan dia yang tu lah kalau kita jumpa face to face. Kalau jumpa online, macam ni lah saya baca nama awak. Lepas tu gambar awak pun mungkin gambar yang tak real, gambar yang masa zaman awak diploma. Lepas tu mari jumpa dah berbeza kan. So benda-benda tu gambar yang dalam online ni, dalam social media ni semua tak boleh percayalah kan dengan filter effect. So nak percaya tu bila kita jumpa depan kan. Tapi yang ni macam saya katalah, kalau you prefer physical class, tell me earlier supaya nanti lepas naik cuti kita buat dekat lab. Tapi dekat lab lah yang ada kelas pun, yang lain saya tak pasti kat mana. Kalau masih nak continue dengan online, so the same approach, 1 jam tu saya try allocate for online lecture, 1 jam lagi yang berbaki tu for this activity lah. So you group take it your group mates untuk buat discussion, kemudian you present in simple way, in short form, ambil je mana-mana PowerPoint yang kosong content itu, just add on according to the subsections yang saya dah assign tadi. Okay, boleh? Get ready dalam pukul berapa? 11:30 ready ke? Atau 11:35? Ataupun 11:40? Eloknya sebelah pukul 12 lah. Sebelum pukul 12 lah present kan.
11.40 madam.
Alright. Okay, 11.40 nah. 11.40.
Lagi lewat lagi
Amboi.
bagus. Madam.
Habis tu apa buat? Present mesti kena, discuss kena present kan. Jangan lambat sangat. Lu kau penat. Okay, 11.40 saya nak tengok. Okay, dah ke belum? Dah bersedia untuk presentation?
Belum.
Jangan 9.40 dah ni. Kita jalan je kasih jadi. Kah? Leka cepat. Grup pertama present. Gas le. Siapa nak present? Grup pertama yang kita punya ketua Dan Manson.
Ajam.
Cepat.
Ajam.
Awak dah lantik siapa ahli nak present?
Dah. Jap.
Alright.
Kata coding tak.
Apa benda tu?
Hah? Kenapa?
Okay, you keluarkan poin penting. Grup awak akan explain sikit lah kan, case description, teori apa, konsep apa, modes of failure, causes of failure. Kalau kita tengok dekat slide, so apa yang you kena concentrate, direct ke dia punya methodology itulah. Okay, nak dengar?
Yeah, very good morning to Dr. And friends.
On lah kamera. Tak boleh on kamera.
Oh, okay.
Saya nak kenal lagi, kita tak jumpa kat luar tak jam pula. Lagi awak kata saya sombong
Madam.
lah. Zat.
Kelas.
Baru nampak. Macam tu lah, baru jam. Okay.
Okay. So I'm John Manson. I will be presenting the case study on flexible pavement. And the case description for the study is a survey to evaluate the flexible pavement condition to determine and specify the types of layer in the pavement for the selected highway. So the selected highway is of Badarwah to Doda Road, and this is evaluate and inspection. So the and inspected, and for the objective on this study is to identify the causes of the flexible pavement failures and to select. The second objective is to select the proper and the best treatments and maintenance to
Failures.
to
the case. Okay.
Selesaikan masalah.
Okay, next.
So the presenter will be yes. Will be one of my group mates, that is Alicia, I think.
Okay. Hand over the session to Alicia.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next one. So she's going to continue on the causes, effects. Okay, mana? Alisha?
Kejap madam. Jangan
Alright.
buka. Okay, for the causes of the failures,
Okay.
will we investigate first what is the type of the failure. So in this case study, we have go through. They have had a possible causes, which is mean from the alligator cracking. The possible causes for the alligator cracking, we can see there are four causes that they have been observed. First, inadequate pavement thickness. Second, low modulus base. Poor base drainage and brittle base. So the next failure, if we been through a edge cracking, the causes will be inadequate pavement width, seepage, and heavy rainfall or no shoulder at the pavement. So next is for the longitudinal cracking. The possible causes it is reflection of shrinkage cracks. And the second one is the displacement of joints at pavement widening. And next is the potholes. So the potholes, the causes may be because of the losses of surface caused due to heavy rainfall. And the second one is because of the moisture entry to the base will be through the cracked pavement surface. And there is another graveling and patching failure. So all of the failure that we have been observed, we need to know the causes why the failure been there.
Okay. Any theory and concept you may relate to highlight the causes, and what is the module base just now is one of the causes on the alligator, or what is it due to the module what you mentioned from the paper is we had on what is it it says that okay we low module base. What does it mean here? For the alligator cracking, what is a low module base?
The module base.
How can we say by the alligator cracking is due to the low module base? And is there any theory to support this kind of the failures? I mean that what does it mean by having the low module base can cause to the alligator cracking? And what is the best module base value to prevent alligator cracks? Can you relate any theory concept? Any group mates would like to share and answer the question? Okay, yang tu saya biarkan awak punya group sambung offline nanti, okay? Sebab Betul. This article ataupun this case study is very straightforward to you lah. Maknanya group 1 beruntung sebab the causes and then case description is commonly highlighted at the first articles lah. Maknanya kalau kata kita nak cari punca tu senang, dia tak perlu cari line kan, by line text. So dia dalam table. Tapi as part of your works to understand what is the meaning low module, brittle base, macam mana kita nak differentiate kalau kita ada this kind of the material kan, material behavior deformations dalam brittle, apa bentuk dia. Kalau kata material fail selain daripada non-brittle, macam mana dia punya pattern. Itu kalau kita tengok secara soil deformations. Kalau kata pavement deformations, brittle ni mesti dia ada kaitan dengan modulus dia, mesti ada kaitan dengan stiffness dia. Macam mana kita nak kaitkan modulus? Dalam kes low module base ni, dia highlightkan kepada parameter apa? Itu yang you kena find out tu. So, makna kata part of the technical aspect lah. So, you kena pergi in depth lah. Cari lagi artikel-artikel yang boleh sokong kan. Modulus of resilience ke, modulus of what other things yang kita nak sokong dia dengan perbezaan antara low module base dengan high module base. Crack ni boleh bagi pada awak dia punya size yang berbeza, pattern yang berbeza. Okay, thank you for group 1. Okay, thanks. Kita boleh claps hand to the presentation from these two persons. Okay, next is a group 2. Siapa group leader? Saya nak tengok on part of process of failures. Effect pun dah ada dekat dalam paper tadi. Any design of analysis yang you nak highlight kan? Together with guidelines. Okay, group number 2. Saya mention just now, kalau nama atas tu saya assume leader lah ya. Nur Amira Najwa. Okay, Nur Amira Najwa, you can start off present your content and then you can pass over the session to your group mates.
Kejap madam.
Okay.
Kau nampak slide?
Nampak? Nampak. Okay. Muka awak je saya tak nampak. Boleh on camera tak? Okay. Okay, you akan fokus on proses macam mana sebab tadi kan group pertama dia present dalam 3-4 deformations lah kan. Alligator cracks ataupun kita panggil sebagai edge crack. So maybe nak cerita panjang tu, nak cerita proses pada crack formation tu lama kan. So why not you just highlight proses pembentukan deformation salah satu daripada crack-crack yang kawan awak sebut tadi tu. Ataupun you buat macam mana?
Okay.
Okay.
Next, we
Oh.
move to process of failure. In process of failure, we must inspection and evaluation plan. Planning is important to ensure the inspection and evaluation of pavement failures were carried out their intended task within a reasonable time frame and at the lowest cost. Problem should be conducted first, along with the possible scope of inspection and maintenance work that may need to be carried out. Then draft the addressing goals, budgeting constraints, operations planning, and the investigative synthesis. Next, the process is pavement condition survey. The pavement condition survey include visual examination of pavement failures, the effectiveness of drainage structures. Other details such as topography and alignment should be recorded, and the soil and geology of the surrounding areas. Then, to ensure that the cause of the failure can be diagnosed efficiently and it is a guide to what testing should be carried out. Then I will pass to Amira Wahida.
Okay, sorry, please continue.
Next is the experimental work. Experimental work includes field and laboratory testing. Example of the field test is the Benkelman beams, dynamic cone penetration, roughness and surface evenness measurements, skid resistance testing, and the field test is to assess the strength of the pavement materials. Next, the example of laboratory testing is like compaction and California bearing ratio test. This test is to measure the index properties by particle size and shape, the plasticity, and the specific gravity. Next, I will pass to the other group.
Yeah. Okay, boleh tak saya nak comment on part of my opinion because I have assigned to group number 2 on some topics such as processes of failures, effects of failures, designs and analysis. Okay, also design guidelines and standard. So I am not saying that what you were presented just now wrong or true, but my opinion, when you are trying to explain the process of failure, it means that how the formations of failure can occur. So you can start off by introducing failures type, such as let me share with you some of example. Okay. Just now, your friend from the group 1 mentioned one of the failures is alligator cracking. So you can start off explaining the process formation by giving what is the alligator cracking or how does this form or occur. So the alligator cracking happens when the pavement is carrying burdens that the supporting structure cannot hold up. As with this, any surface put enough pressure on asphalt and it will crack. So that's how you explain the process of the failure. What you had presented just now on suggestions, the remedial or mitigation work can be carried out on site. So itu adalah sebahagian daripada mitigation process yang kita boleh ambil untuk mengatasi failure yang berlaku pada pavement tersebut. So on this case study, what is the pavement type? Case study kita ni pavement type dia apa? Anyone from group tu? Apa pavement type kita? Pavement type kita apa kelas daripada artikel yang saya share tadi tu? Kelas, you tahu tak pavement type dalam artikel tu dia tulis apa?
Flexible pavement, madam.
Punya Zustani nak jawab open question, open answer, tahu tak? You punya test tu nanti close book. Ayah. Okay, satu, sebab apa saya betulkan konten ni? Sebab satu, you kena tahu macam mana berlaku kegagalan. Itu tujuan kita buat postmortem. Postmortem tu bukan setakat nak tahu punca dengan kesan. Kita juga nak tahu proses. Proses macam mana berlakunya deformation, macam mana berlakunya failures. Similar to what happened on the landslide in Batang Kali kan. Kesan tu kita dah nampak dah ada gelonsoran tanah berlaku. Kita dah nampak dah slip circle, modes of the slip circle kita dah nampak. Dia adalah transitional. Kemudian dia datang bersama tanah runtuh. Tapi bila orang tanya you, apa proses berlakunya landslide? So from that aspect, technical engineering term tu, you kena kaitkanlah dengan lateral forcesnya lah, fully saturated soilnya lah. So you kena explain lah, apabila fully saturated soil become heavier and then reducing the lateral forces and then the resistance force along the slip circle getting lower and then triggering to the soil mass move from one top to another top with the presence of the crack on the crest surface of the slope also can be caused to the deformations or the slope failure. So you have to explain macam mana proses tu berlaku untuk menghasilkan failure tersebut. Contohlah kan, macam mana saya tanya awak, macam mana corrosion, steel corrosion tu berlaku. Steel corrosion tu dia tak berlaku saja-saja. Dia mesti ada melibatkan chemical reaction antara apa? Oksigen, kita punya konkrit tu dia dah mengalami rekahan, konkrit kita mengalami rekahan. Rekahan yang terbuka tu, open crack tu membenarkan oksigen ataupun kita punya steel reinforcement exposed to the environment, especially on the oxygen. Dan juga bila ada oksigen, dia akan adanya chemical reactions. Tindak balas kimia akan menyebabkan steel reinforcement lagi terhakis dan mengurangkan reinforcement strength. So that's how you explain. Just now dalam group number 2, so you kena detail lagi faham proses yang you mungkin baca daripada artikel tu sebenarnya proses yang di-explain remedial measurements can be taken at the site. So itu bukan kepada menjawab proses berlakunya kegagalan. Kegagalan Grup 1 dia dah present. Kegagalan dalam bentuk crack tu seperti alligator, edge crack. So, semua benda-benda tu. So, bila you nak cerita pada proses tu, so dia punya jawapan kurang tepat. So, saya harap nanti untuk persediaan test ke, persediaan final nanti kan sebab dia adalah satu open questions yang kita pun tak tahu kan soalan dalam bentuk failure dekat structure ke, failure dekat geotech ke, failure dekat infrastructure yang dia akan tanya awak. So, you kena bersedialah untuk memahami macam mana you nak conduct post-mortem tu. Macam mana nak conduct forensic activity tu. Bukan setakat tahu punca, tahu kesan, tahu cara nak atasi dia. You kena tahu juga proses, apa faktor-faktor dia. Faktor-faktor dia tu dipengaruhi oleh parameter apa. Variables apa. Benda-benda tu yang kena kaitkan dengan parameter konkrit ke, parameter tanah ke, parameter pavement tu ke, skid resistant low ke, modulus dia low ke. Itu benda semua you kena kaitkan lah. So untuk group nombor 2, please for the next activity read the article. Kalau kata artikel tu tak cukup nak bagi you info, you can use your mobile data untuk search the information macam mana nak explain on the process. Kenapa saya tanya dalam waktu kelas? Sebab saya percaya lepas luar waktu kelas, you tak akan buka pun pasal benda ni. You hanya akan buka nak dekat waktu test dan dekat waktu final. Dalam tempoh yang terhad tu, you nak cari semua benda, tak sempat. So, dalam tempoh kelas ni lah, you boleh Google, you boleh open book, you boleh cari jawapan yang terbuka. So, anything that can be used for your additional info, guna untuk you upgrade your knowledge. So, not last, in today, kita panggil group number 3 untuk share dia punya finding on the article. Group number 3, leader is Nur Anis Najwa. So, dia akan fokus on the investigation approach, instrumentation control, and then lastly is a lesson learned. Okay, Anis Najwa.
Ya, madam.
Okay. Okay, mitigation. Okay, suggestion treatment. Boleh. So, ada setengah daripada slide saya tu, jawapan dia memang straightforward daripada artikel awak. Ada setengah tu, memang you kena Google. Kena find out lah. Nak buka textbook, tak sempat. Nak buka nota pun tak sempat. So, you Google lah. Tu antara tujuan lah kalau kita buat kelas online ni. Semuanya di hujung jari je. You search, you share dengan kawan-kawan. Tujuan lain dia, bila kita share bersama ni, bila kita discuss, mungkin ada benda yang you boleh tambah kan. Ada benda yang selain daripada artikel tu, dia tak cover. So, you boleh bagi suggestion, opinion. Sebab this is open discussion among all of us. So, tak ada kata you are wrong or you are right. Cuma jawapan tu tak tepat, bergantung kepada situasi dan masa. Okay, tolong present untuk yang last. And then lastly, sebelum kita habis kelas, touch sedikit pasal lesson learn. Apa yang you boleh ambil daripada artikel tersebut?
Now I will present about the investigation approach on mitigation and remedial work. So, dalam failure ada alligator cracking, edge cracking, longitudinal cracking, potholes, raveling dengan patching. So, cara untuk mitigation way, cara untuk betulkan failure tu dengan suggested untuk alligator cracking, treatment dia, strengthen the pavement or reconstruction. Next, strengthen the base or reconstruction. Untuk poor base drainage pula, improve the drainage and reconstruction juga. And lastly, brittle base recycling or reconstruction. Mostly kalau alligator cracking ni kita kena reconstruct balik, ataupun reconstruct ataupun kita kena strengthen pavement tu lah, sebab dia berlaku dekat bahagian atas jalan raya tu.
Reconstruct tu maksud awak tu macam mana? Berapa kedalaman?
Berapa kedalaman?
Berapa kedalaman surface yang kita kena buang, kita nak tampas semula tu, berapa thickness dia? Reconstruct for the whole length of the road section ataupun macam mana tu?
Ada length dia, ada depth dia.
Okay, berapa dalam artikel tu dia mention?
Alligator.
Contoh alligator berapa dia punya thickness, lebar dia berapa?
Sekejap
Minggu depan cuti kan? Minta maaf lah saya ambil masa lama hari ni. Sebelum-sebelum ni kita sat-sat je. Berapa? Hello?
Sekejap ni dia sedang jumpa.
Tak jumpa, okey.
Dekat dalam ni pun tak ada. Dia tengah
Okey
Google
lah.
sekejap.
Okay, next time,
Next
time lah kita, next slide lah. Next time you cari lah.
Okay. Kalau edge cracking pula sama juga, kita kena within the pavement, proper and efficient drainage. Kalau ada seepage, kalau tak ada shoulder, kita kena construct shoulder dekat tepi jalan. Next, untuk longitudinal cracking, kita kalau shrinkage, kita kena cut and patch. Kalau displacement joint, kita kena reconstruct joint untuk jalan raya tu.
Next slide. Untuk
ada lagi cracking yang lain. Contohnya macam potholes. Potholes ni, the possible cause which is loss of surface caused due to heavy rainfall, as well as moisture entry to base caused through a cracked pavement surface. So the suggested treatment will be patching as well as cut and patching. For leveling, the possible causes which are insufficient bitumen content, deterioration of aggregate, and construction during wet weather. So the suggested treatment, which is thin bitumen overlay. So for the leveling, for small level area, which center areas of leveling, we will remove the level pavement and patch. And then for large level areas, which indicative of general HMA failure, we will remove the damaged pavement and overlay. So lastly, for patching, which the possible causes are insufficient bitumen content and deterioration of aggregate. The suggested treatment also by using thin bitumen overlay.
Bitumen ni macam mana kita nak kategori dia? Bitumen mana yang sesuai pakai? Ada tak dia mention dalam artikel tu? Sebab bila kita pergi ke factory kan, kilang ke ataupun company yang buat production bitumen ni, how they classify on the selections bitumen untuk this kind of the remedial activities. Is it the bitumen selection based on the crack pattern or based on the failures itself? So do you have any info regarding on that thing? Do you know the how they select on the bitumen type for that specific field area?
By conducting bitumen test. Okay.
Okay, alright. Good answer.
Bitumen,
What are the bitumen tests, for example?
bitumen penetration.
Okay, bolehlah saya sebab yelah benda-benda ni kan macam saya cakap lah, soalan yang saya tanya ni mungkin bagi awak kenapa nak tanya kan, sebab tak semua orang akan ingat apa yang dah belajar dulu. Contohnya kebetulan ada antara yang 15-18 orang hari ni yang buat FYP dalam pavement ke apa kan, dia buat lab, sekurang-kurangnya dia dah buat literature study kan, literature review. At least you can share your finding or what you have reviewed from past articles. So daripada situ dia boleh kata apa, kita senang lah untuk mengarang kan, sebab nanti course ni untuk you jawab test, dia bukan banyak tekan kalkulator, dia banyak mengarang tau, tulis macam kita buat essay kan. Kalau you tak ada info, macam mana you nak karang? Karangan tu bukan kata 5 lines, at least 3 paragraph. Kalau satu paragraph kita write up around 5 lines, kalau kata ada 3 paragraph, 4 paragraph, 20 lines. Takkan you nak tulis besar-besar tulisan, padahal satu line tu berapa words je you tulis. Maknanya info tak ada, point tak ada untuk bagi markah. Kan? Nanya pada diri awak, nanya pada saya. Itu sebabnya this kind of question, if I ask just now, bitumen apa, classification dia, you boleh jawab. Lepas tu, how do we classify according to the bituminous test. Bituminous test contohnya apa? Penetration, skid resistance tu antara benda lah kan. Okay, the last but not least, what can we learn from this case study? Apa yang kita boleh ambil pengajaran? Siapa nak present group 3? Last sekali. Kawan-kawan yang lain tu mungkin dah tunggu kan. Cepat-cepat nak pergi makan tengah hari dah ni. Nak dekat pukul 12 lebih pukul 1 dah ni. Lesson learned from group 3? Okay. Okay. Dia bertolak-tolak pula nak present ni. Hai lekai-lekai, dia boleh gelak-gelak.
Lesson learned from the text is that we should monitoring progress against every specific project target is vital.
Okay, what's your suggestion monitoring tu? Monitoring progress tu berapa frequent yang kita boleh buat? Dia boleh gelak pula.
Once a month, madam.
Once a month. You check kat line lah. Suka-suka hati once a month. Ada duit tak nak buat monitoring banyak-banyak kali ni?
Once a year. Once a year.
Once a year tu lagi engineer jalan tak buat kerja langsung. So dalam part ni itu sebabnya macam saya katalah kan, bila kita study ni kita tengok full aspect, because this one bila cerita pasal forensik ni it's not on that things technical saja, kita nak kena kaitkan dengan guidelines, apa JKR punya apa ni dia punya do and don'ts, and then untuk kita elak worst scenario failures tu berapa kali monitoring yang dia kena buat. Macam yang ni kan kawan awak dah mention monitoring progress. Monitoring progress ni untuk berapa kali? 3 bulan sekali ke, 6 bulan sekali ke? Yang tu you kena find out daripada guidelines lah. And then tak semestinya monitoring tu nak buat every month, because this one melibatkan bajet tahunan kan. Kalau kata tiba-tiba unexpected failures berlaku dekat unexpected site and unexpected section road, itu pun benda yang kita kita dah plan, kita dah buat monitoring schedule progress dia, tapi berlaku tiba-tiba. Itu pun you kena take into account lah. Okay, next.
Next is planning. It's important to ensure that inspection and evaluation of pavement failures were carried out intended tasks within a reasonable time frame and at lowest cost.
Visual, okay.
Next, an effective visual survey of pavement failures is essential to ensure that the cause of failure can be diagnosed efficiently. And the last one is that the pavement condition survey may include visual examination of pavement failures, the effectiveness of drainage structures, and other details, such as topography.
Drainage structure ni, apa pandangan pendapat awak? Macam kalau kata kita travel along expressway kan, antara agensi ataupun corporate body yang uruskan road maintenance dekat Malaysia ni siapa? Selain daripada JKR untuk maintenance.
Untuk maintenance. Untuk maintain road care.
Road care tu tak silap saya kontraktor kan?
Road care kontraktor ya.
Road care tu tak silap saya kontraktor. Antaranya yang buat maintenance work ni is at Genta, bawah apa ni, lepas tu plus pun antara yang buat maintenance untuk highway, pavement. So itulah macam saya cakap lah, bila kita belajar satu benda ni, dia adalah satu benda yang you boleh, orang kata apa, pick up your potential boss, your potential company untuk you work in the future. Kalau you berminat dengan pavement, so you boleh nampak you suka you suka study pasal pavement, and then you nak focus on the maintenance, so you dah boleh tahu dah you nak hantar resume tu dekat company mana, dekat Plus ke, dekat Agenta ke. So these are the type of companies yang memang work under constructions or under maintenance, specialized in the road pavement. Okay, any question before we end our lecture this morning?
Saya no madam.
No. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you to everyone because joining this in-class activity online. And then saya rasa pecah record lah juga kan. Nak dekat 3 jam jugalah. 2 jam lebih. So we meet up after break and then continue with the title on airport failures and also drainage failures. So last 2 remaining weeks tu untuk semester ni kita akan ada talk by industrial expert dan juga group presentations. So take care every one of you. Kemudian enjoy your holiday. Tak silap saya juga lepas naik cuti pun ada test. So plan your holiday nicely dan juga effectively. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
madam.
madam. Bye.
Madam.
Okay,
Thank you, madam.
alright.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Okay.